I'm Alessandra Barrett, Senior Content Editor for JOC, and I'm at our 2019 LogTech conference with John Galob, Chief Marketing Officer and founder of Winmore Software. Great to see you again, John.
Thanks for having me.
You're on the panel that looks at the expanding definition of what a TMS system is. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. Well, TMS software has been around for years, right? I think we all realize that. What I think a lot of people don't recognize is that it's a high growth area. This year, for example, the TMS software market is expected to grow by 15%, which to help frame, to put it in comparison, the CRM market, again, CRM software has been around for a number of years also, is growing at 6%. So you're seeing high growth, but unlike other industries where companies like Salesforce have huge market share, exactly to your point, in TMS, there's literally thousands of providers, each of which are servicing entirely different niches of the overall logistics and transportation ecosystem. So the point is incredibly fragmented, high growth nonetheless, in an area that's going to continue to be very important as I think both logistics providers and shippers recognize the importance of automation.
Is the growth being fueled, would you say, mostly from just market need, market demand, or is it this opportunity that companies are seeing to stretch their offerings a bit or blur a little bit with other software options?
I think it's actually a combination of both, right? I mean, by the nature of supply chain services, it is very specialized. And today, now more than ever, the margins are really dependent on having a very specialized service that is really differentiated in the market. So I think it's natural that software will play a role in keeping up with that. But what's different, though, is that we're finding, certainly in our case, entire areas of software that are yet to be discovered. They're kind of outside that boundary of TMS, outside that boundary of CRMs. When you think about areas like tender management, for example, and the RFP process for a freight broker, there really isn't much in the way of software outside of what we're doing that helps address those needs. So it's again in that gray space between the TMS and between the CRM.
The idea that the expansion of what TMS means could really help unify, like be a great unifier of data. Do you see valid potential there?
I do, and you can look into other comps, right? Again, I'm going to bring up another CRM example, largely because at Winmore, Salesforce.com is one of our lead investors from our seed round, and we've been following it very closely. Salesforce.com made two very high-profile acquisitions. One was in business intelligence, where they bought Tableau for over $16 billion. The other one was MuleSoft, which was an API set for CRMs, where they paid $6 billion. Both of those examples in the CRM space can apply to TMS, where business intelligence and API and connectivity, exactly to your point, will continue to be more important. TMS represents a really interesting hub for a lot of transactional operational data. CRM certainly does in the way of rolling up forecasts. But again, we look across the entire requirements of a logistics service provider today, and again, those are the areas that often find outside that scope that are really interesting and ripe for automation, both to your point in terms of pulling data together around the demand process of tenders and RFPs, but then also around APIs and pulling all that into one location so you can actually understand where the demand is that's driving the shipments, as well as, of course, all the back-end visibility that is, the price to pay for being a competitor in the market today.
What aspect of logistics technology feels new and exciting?
Well, I think it's incredibly insightful to think about what you can do with analytics to another level, another degree, right? You hear a lot of talk about machine learning and artificial intelligence. The first step of that in that industry is really just to pull that together in one place. And what we're doing in the tender space by allowing us to follow workflows that apply best practices to qualify RFPs, qualify tenders. Why is that important? Well, about 22% of tenders and RFPs are just price checks. So for a forwarder and broker to recognize that early on, make a conscious decision that those are not opportunities that we're going to pursue, frees them up to focus on the ones that are important to them, that offer the most margin. So bringing that data together from the TMS, from the CRM, even potentially from external sources like JOC's peers database, for example, gets really interesting and very exciting for us to break out of that email and Excel routine that candidly is a reality for so many logistics service providers today.
Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
I've been speaking with John Galob, Chief Marketing Officer and founder of Winmore Software.